What's going on, guys? Coach Colin here, bringing you the best insights to the podcast you love. And if you want more of that, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. We're at 340, Jocko Wilink's podcast. This is the episode with Tim Kennedy. This is a 5 hour and 49-minute podcast. I've listened to it 3 times. It's amazing. For me, I always love hearing stories about people who have just been through the mud and the dirt and have like rised up from it as a stronger, more durable, more resilient man. And that's exactly what Tim Kennedy is. Great example of that. The reason that I'm choosing this clip, and I'll go over the backstory of this clip because Jocko's reading from his book in this clip here. Things get very dark for Tim Kennedy. I believe he gets 2 girls pregnant, like, you know, close together. Then another girl pops up. She has HIV. So now he doesn't know if he has HIV. Gonna be a father. He also was trying to become a cop and one day went paintballing. Somebody threw rocks at him. He ran up to their car with a paintball gun and unloaded like just crazy amount of paintballs into the car. So he gets absolutely ousted from ever becoming a cop. And he's just feeling like a screw up. And the reason I chose this part of the book, like this part of like where it gets dark for him, is because we've all felt like screw ups. You might feel like one right now. And you may have made a lot of bad decisions. But it doesn't mean that you are those decisions forever. Tim Kennedy, now, if you know the man, he is a highly decorated war veteran. I believe he's even still active if he's called upon. Sniper, Green Beret, former UFC champion, great father, great husband, amazing member of his community, teaches people about how to safely, like tactical training with guns and close combat. Like just an asset of a human being. But at one point in his life, he felt like he was an absolute screw up. He felt low. He felt like he disappointed everybody. And it's very relatable. And I only choose this part of the podcast because, again, you might feel like you're in that. You may have felt like you've been that person. You may feel like that person now. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you can't rise up from it. It doesn't mean that you can't become somebody amazing. You absolutely can become someone amazing. We've all been in those dark places. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to fight for it. And just don't give up. So, here's the clip. Let's go.
Yeah, great decisions. Just lining them up and knocking them down.
I'm going to go to the book here.
Line them up, knocking them down.
I'm standing naked at the edge of the ocean halfway through my 23rd year. The cold surf washes over my feet and the wind spreads gooseflesh across my skin. The sun will be up soon, but for now I remain wrapped in darkness. It's nice to bask in the stillness of this moment. The only sounds are the waves lapping against the shore. There is something cathartic about being alone on the beach I grew up on and stripping my clothes off and letting them hit the sand. I feel incredibly free for the first time in ages. Normally I'd worry about my wallet and keys getting stolen, but I do not care at all. What difference does it make? I wade into Morro Bay just north of the Rock, ignoring my brain's warnings that it's too cold and too dark. There's a wall of fog closing in that will soon make it hard to see my way through the black water. I don't worry about that either. As I wade deeper, my legs start to burn from the cold water. I pay no attention, though. Even as it covers my legs, then waist, then chest, I barely acknowledge the surf's effects. I don't want to acknowledge it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about anything. When the waves start picking me up off the sandy ocean floor, I begin to swim west. I have failed everyone I know, and there's no way to fix it. What the fuck is wrong with me? How did I fuck up everything this quickly? I'm a strong swimmer, and in no time the shore is a distant memory. It's so peaceful out here. My breath mists a little in the waning moonlight. But other than my own breathing and the sound of my hands and legs cutting through the surf, there is nothing. I didn't plan on going for a long swim to nowhere in the pre-dawn blackness, but I needed to forget all of it. My actions, the hurt that they caused, and the disappointment they manifested in everyone around me. I can't hold on to this pain anymore. I'm just not strong enough.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of breezed through like, oh, you had this girl pregnant, and you had this girl pregnant, and then you had this possible HIV. You can't get the job you want to get. Like, you're 23 years old. You know, sometimes I'll talk to people that are 16 or 17 or 15 years old, and they broke up with their girlfriend, or they made this mistake, and I always say, listen, it seems like your whole world right now, but there's so much more to life. You know, there's so much to carry on. There'll be other girls. There'll be other opportunities. It's okay. But damn.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like, that's a lot of shit going on, man.
Yeah. And, you know, an order out of there, my grandpa, who was like the patriarch of our family, you know, the greatest generation, World War II, he's dying of emphysema. You know, every breath he takes is slightly less than the prior breath, you know, just he's just fighting. So he's just becoming a shell of a man. And he would be the person that I would go to go to the beach house in Cambria, you know, like listen to the waves crash and just dump on him. And you know, he had the grandpa wisdom. Mm-hmm. He's dead. He's dying. Riding the motorcycle, I already crashed that. You know, like that thing's gone. So my other cathartic release is gone. You know, like I was too embarrassed to be back in walking into the pit, you know, walking and be like, hey, I think I can't train right now because I don't know if I have AIDS. I was just in Morro Bay, and I walked to the Coast Guard station, and I knocked on the door. And the door flew open, and they all knew who I was.
Explain that. So I'm not going to read that part of the story, but you swim out to sea, and you know it's weird. It sounds like you weren't intent on killing yourself, but doesn't sound like you were all that intent on living either. I don't know. What's the...
There's definitely, I think, a wish for like a baptism. And this is a really unique thing, as you and I are dealing with lots of mental health and suicide within the military and addressing it. And how do we, there is not like this linear line of where's depression, where's suicide, where's mental health. You know, what you have here is, you know, an early 20-year-old boy who has made a bunch of bad decisions and he feels hopeless. And you know, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go next. And I'm doing something that is very, very dumb and dangerous and could be the end of my life. But I didn't have an intent. Like I'm not trying to kill myself. You know, like there's no cognitive, there's way more efficient ways than swimming out into the ocean. I definitely kept swimming. And that's a big takeaway that is, you know, not at the end of the book. There's not that adage that's, oh, here's what you should take away from this. Is I kept swimming. You know, I was my balls were essentially up inside of my body as I was frozen to death, and it still doesn't make sense. The Coast Guard said that somebody called. This is pre-dawn. This is pre-cell phone. There's no way that any of the houses along Morro Bay on the north side of the breakers, on the north side of the rock, could have seen me, and there's nobody in the parking lot when I got in the water. So I'm not saying there was like a divine intervention, but doesn't make any sense how somebody called the Coast Guard station, said they saw a young man take his clothes off and swim into the ocean.
I definitely would say that's divine intervention. That's absolutely nuts. And I mean, somebody could have just saw him as he was swimming, so he didn't actually see them, but they saw him, and they saw him naked, so they were like, let me call somebody about this. And also, it does sound like he was trying to kill himself a little bit. You know? I don't know. I'm glad he didn't, though. Absolutely glad he didn't. But things get dark. Like, that's why I chose that clip, because things get dark. Like, that's a very dark thing. Like, he swam into the ocean with no intent of turning back. It's freezing cold. Like what happens? Like, eventually, you're going to cramp up. Your limbs are going to get too cold. Like, you're naked, completely naked. And he just didn't care. And I think a lot of us are that naked Tim in the water sometimes, because we feel like we've messed up too many times. We've just screwed up way too many times in a very short period, and we just don't know if things are going to get any better, you know? But they do. Like, that's why I used him as an example. Like, his life got a lot better, you know? He's killed terrorists. He's fought for his country numerous times. He's, like I said, UFC champion. Like, he's done so many things, so many incredible things. And yeah, and you could too. That's the big takeaway, is that if you've ever felt even remotely like he did in this clip that I've played, you can bounce back. You can become somebody 1,000 times better than where you are right now. It's possible. So never feel like you need to give up. Never feel like you're going to give up. Push through, whatever it is. This guy has 2 girls pregnant, 1 girl with HIV, lost the job of his dreams, grandfather's dying, can't train, and that's like the thing that he does. Loves to train MMA, jiu-jitsu, and stuff like that. Couldn't do any of it. It's like he lost everything, but he still pushed through. You know. And if you want to know how he pushed through, well, you'll have to either buy his book or listen to the podcast, because I'm going to end the episode now. But it's a very, very cool story. Very cool story. And again, we started at 1 hour and 20 minutes. So if you listen from like 1 hour and 20 to like 1 hour and 40, you'll hear the whole story. It's pretty amazing. But all right, I'm out. Peace.